Want to know how to retire? History will show us how. If you're not reading, you're wrong. That's all there is to it. If you're just getting your entertainment via Netflix or Amazon, look, we do too. We watch Stranger Things. It's interesting. My whole family does. But you gotta open up a book, man. Open up a book. You've got to. And open up a book could be narrative fiction, historical fiction, history generally, I say autobiography, a biography. Well, this is kind of an autobiography. But anything that's historical, and you're going to get tons of great information that you could use today. All right, so I'm reading this book. So what happens? Every morning I get up, I read a passage from the Institute for Creation Research called Days of Praise. Well, I say my prayers first of all, I'll let the dogs out. I say my prayers, read a passage from the ICR, and then I open up the good book, the Bible, and I read a chapter or two in there. Right now I'm halfway through Hebrews. Woo, tons of insane stuff in Hebrews. It's fantastic. And then I'll read a book of some kind of a nonfiction book of some sort. Right now I'm reading the Black Jacobins by C.L.R. Lewis, talk about the Haitian revolt, slave revolt in Haiti in 1789, I think, which that book was written in 1933. And then I usually read fiction at night, all right, usually on my Kindle or something like that. So I just got done reading Stephen King's what the hell was it called? Mr. Mercedes. It is okay. It's okay. Stephen King's a good writer. I think he's weird, but he's a good writer. But anyway, so I put that down. I'm done with that. So now I'm reading this, Green Mountain Farm. This isn't a history or a fiction book. It's actually a real dude, Elliot Merrick. And what happens is in 1934, in the depths of the Depression, Elliot and his wife Kate buy a ramshackle farm on a Vermont hillside for $1,000, and they move up there with a young baby in tow, and then they have another baby. Anyway, so I want to share with you a passage from this because you want to know how to retire? Elliot will tell us how. It's amazing. So remember, this was from basically the middle of the Great Depression. I hope you're hearing me. All right. On the road across the mountain, we pass 4 old farms that are in ruins, burned out, and there are many more on the other roads around, with fields growing up to the bushes, fences all gone. They got burned out, says, what's this guy's name again? Hold on just a second. It was Zach. They got burned out, says Zach. Now let me see. It was a year, and he rides on, and we ride on. And a few miles beyond, we come to another and another burned out farm. Zach knows the history of each one, whose father built the place, what happened there. He remembers how the berries used to grow thick in the back pasture, and the times his mother and father went up there and camped. The time the sheriff attached a load of rock maple logs, the time the horses ran away, and then they got burned out. They moved away. Where'd they move to? Sometimes he knows, but generally he says, I don't know. I ask him why they didn't build it again, their old home that they worked over and improved and loved and hated and made plans for over generations. Why didn't they use the insurance money after it got burned out to build it up? They couldn't. It cost $3,000 to build a good barn. It cost $3,000 to build a little house. That's $6,000. Well, they can go off and buy a better place for $3,000 than they can build it for $6,000. It didn't used to be so. Interesting. I hope that's to start to make some thoughts. We got even more coming down the pike. They can go off and buy a better place for $3,000 than they can build for $6,000 in their current location. Replacement cost versus fair market value on your homeowner's insurance first and foremost. Now here's a place, says Zach, and he's looking around. Silas Groslet lives here. Moved there 10 years ago. He's only got 10 cows, hillside farm, ledges, soil not very deep. The government would call that a sub-marginal farm, as sure as shooting. But he gets along. He's got a good team. He and his wife get around a little bit for a visit. He ain't got any mortgage, and he don't owe a nickel to anybody. There's plenty of valley farms 5 times as big as that with richer land that have failed. The banks got them long ago. There's plenty of valley farms 5 times as big as Silas's with richer land that have failed. The banks got them long ago. Remember, Silas Crockett, only been there 10 years. He's only got 10 cows, subsoil, soil not very deep, substandard soil, hillside, ledges, lots of rocks, sub-marginal farm, as the government call it. Now, what do you make of that? I ain't saying that there ain't plenty of poor farms so poor that no one can make a living off, but I'm telling you, mister, there's such a thing as sub-marginal men too. What's the government going to do with them? There's plenty of men that couldn't make a living off the best farm off the best farm that was ever cleared. But I'm telling you, there's such a thing as sub-marginal men too. What's the government going to do with them? There's plenty of men that couldn't make a living off the best farm that was ever cleared. And there's plenty of valley farms 5 times as big as Silas's with richer land that have failed up and the bank has got them long ago. But you know why Silas keeps his house and his property? He ain't got a mortgage and he doesn't owe anyone a nickel. That's how you retire, man. That's what you strive for. Stop striving to build the biggest farm, i.e. the biggest 401k. Strive to take care of what is that within your capacity, which is paying off your debt. I'm telling you, man, don't get too caught up in the tax ramifications of doing something today. Silas, he said, look, I'm paying off my debt. I have 10 cows. Nothing fancy. I got rocks in my yard. I'm on a hillside. The soil isn't very deep because of rocks. But yet I can get by just fine because I don't owe anybody anything. I tell you, if that's not a lesson, I don't know what else is. Pay off your debt, live frugally, and when the Great Depression comes, which is coming again, be it a Great Depression, Great Recession, I don't know. But when it comes and you're relying on that big 5 times farm that's freaking awesome, but you're leveraged to the hilt, you don't have to worry about going bankrupt and being put out because you own it outright. Watch your debt. Yeah, we want some liquidity, don't get me wrong, but it's like Silas has liquidity. He just has less of a 401k than these other guys do. But the other guys are leveraged to the hilt. And we just saw what happened in 2008. You got leveraged to the hilt simultaneously. You're losing your job simultaneously. The market's fallen 57% from October 2007 to March of 2009. Old Silas, who wasn't leveraged to the hilt, was getting by just fine, owed nobody nothing. He just, this is how you retire. This is it. Learn from history. All right, love your thoughts. Thanks, Sam.